So continuing Ramjoo's diary, picking up where we left off, overlapping a couple paragraphs. Today being Friday, the principal mosques were to be attended. Doctor got the Friday mosque to his lot. Arjun and Aspad were given in his assistance. Thus, the one time would be doctor was a sight to behold, with handbills and posters and gum bottles, bravely going out to fight the great battle that the mind was sure to wage at the uncomfortable experience of being laughed at, jeered, and pitied by friends and acquaintances that were sure to come while he was doing the unusual duty. At first, Baba gave me the Jakriya mosque to attend, the very place I would have liked last, in view of it being situated in the heart of the Muslims from Kutch section, and with the possibility of coming across every second or third man an acquaintance. Guessing the great mental revolt going on in my mind, Baba canceled the order and directed me to the Full Gali Mosque near Nul Bazar, while Abdur Rahman was sent to Jakriya Mosque. An advertisement campaign. The big posters. These are the posters of Upasni Maharaja's biography. The big posters were stuck on doors and walls of the mosque in prominent positions. And after the Friday prayers, I took my stand at the main entrance of the mosque and began broadcasting the handbills to each and everyone coming out of the mosque, including Uzman and his brothers. And thus, somehow, the never ending experience was passed through, and with a great sigh of relief, we came back to good old Monzil. November 15, 1922. Book selling. Book selling is the order of the day. Besides Rustum and Vajifdar, who are exclusively working whole time in disposing away the copies in quantities, almost everyone in the bungalow has been given different number of copies as to respective capabilities to be sold away in spare hours to friends and acquaintances. The following was put up today in this connection. Notice: all sending books by VPP should include the VPP charges in the amount of the price of the book. 15/11/22. Signed, Merwan. November 16, 1922. Busy time. The Monzil atmosphere was never one of laziness, but yet a good part of the day could regularly be spared for tete-a-tete and pastimes. But since yesterday, the bookselling work has simply brought about a choking atmosphere. Every available spare hour is to be utilized hawking the book, which at the same time is not an easy affair. It requires great persuasive powers and an extremely cool head in even bringing round friends to go in for the book. The following notice was put up on board for no apparent reason. Please be telling the truth. November 16, 1922, signed Merwan. November 19, 1922, a slow progress. In spite of so much canvassing and personal appeals for the last 4 days, I could dispose of hardly a dozen copies. Many funny and instructive adventures were met with in this connection. For instance, I had to give the other day a short lecture at a wedding party of friends at Bandra, to my great discomfiture, but to the merriment of the friends as they insisted upon my explaining the merits of the book. Likewise, Doctor has sold only 2 books today, although he must have walked 2 miles while canvassing for it. Mr. Nasir Ahmed, who had been to Baba this morning, narrated a very strange incident. When he returned from Bandardara, where he had been to see his brother Aziz Ahmed, who is said to have got his mind unhinged, he was informed by one of his servants that a guest had arrived in his absence, who at the time was praying in the mosque. Vijay, could you unmute and continue reading, please?
Prediction about Baba. When Mr. Nasir Ahmed saw this uninvited guest, he found him to be a very old man with eyebrows white with age. The latter introduced himself as Abdul Wahab, and during the conversation asked the farmer as to why he does not go to Meher Baba. Mr. Nasir Ahmed replied, because Meher Baba was not a Muslim externally. The old man said, Master have no religion. He, meaning Meher Baba, is the first one of his time who has been appointed on a special duty of making as many saints as possible. His stage is such at the moment that he can turn anyone whom he embraces into a saint. He will be the first to follow and help the next prophet. I am also with him for the last so many years, and now the time is fast approaching for me to appear and declare myself to the world. Go and see Meher Baba and give him my salams. In the evening, Mr. Aziz Ahmed also came to Dadar, but was sent by Baba to Cherni Road. Excuse me. Spirited by a spirit. Mr. Aziz Ahmed's coming was prompted by more peculiar circumstances. According to his words, he was told by a spirit to go down to Bombay and see Meher Baba at once. Thus, the two brothers had strangely experienced extraordinary phenomena about Meher Baba almost simultaneously. November 20th, 1920. The White Elephant. The following notice was found on board this morning. As pre-arranged, no one should even speak about going home till the month of April 1923. Signed by Marwan. Manzil. Fardoon, myself, bar soap and Slamson have been given duties at the flour mill. The farmer as a general mechanic. The following as cash collectors. and the latter as the general manager. The mill, in spite of providing a paying occupation, has turned up a regular white elephant. Hardly it works for a day without a quarter dozen stoppages, and the consequent jumble and excitement may well be imagined. Besides, the stinking smell of the surrounding sewers made the business a horrible affair. When taken with the variety of noises the different old machinery gave out, November 24, 1922, a god intoxicated soul. At about 5 p.m. this evening, a personality known as Kadar Wali, accompanied by a couple followers, came in the Bangla compound and asked for an interview with Baba, which, however, was refused. But Baba sent Dr. Kha and Chaudhary to see them in the hotel where they had retired. When doctor returned from the hotel half an hour later, after seeing Kadar Wali off in a motor car, he described his impression of the saintly person before Baba and the Mandli. According to his description, Kadar Wali looked every inch a God intoxicated soul, and in spite of his big, bulky body, he was very active all the time that he was in the hotel. His activities, talking and eating, were just like a small child. We had a good laugh when doctor tried to explain his attempt to refer to a motor car, as he every now and then asked of his followers whether it had come or not. He would fold his hands in such a way as if he were squeezing a horn and try to produce a similar sound of corn palm, a voice from beyond. When Sayyid Sahib came in the evening, he brought another strange narration in connection with Mr. Aziz Ahmad. It is that when Muslim Munshi, accompanied by Aziz Ahmad, had gone to Abdur Rahman Baba's tomb on Thursday, at the moment of touching and kissing the covering over the tomb, a voice from the inside the tomb spoke in Mr. Aziz Ahmad's ear as follows: say our salams to Sheikh Baba Marwan and convey this salam there through the medium of Munshi Abdul Rahim. Yeah. Continued life in the Manzil. December 4, 1922. The unknown guilty. As per the present system in vogue of not allowing outsiders an interview with Baba, the brother to Maharaj of Keshavnagar, Hyderabad, who had especially come down to Bombay to see Meher Baba, under Babajan's advice, was turned away without an interview being granted. When Baba came to know the details of this visitor's call, he got the following notice put up on the board. If a visitor of any caste, creed, and position happens to come from Sri Pasni Maharaj or Babajan, I should be reminded of giving him admission even though I were to refuse in the first instance. Marwan, 4/12/22. Since recently Baba has been putting up a notice that impure action has been committed in the Bangla premises by someone whom he refers to as the innocent hypocrite. At first, the Mandli LRs thought this to be a mere reminder for all to be on guard against his slip. But the subsequent and persistent notices, such as promising the culprit the secrecy of his guilt and a clean pardon, set us all thinking. Ultimatum. Especially the following notice put up on board today has simply set each other suspecting and making inquiries. Unless the culprit confesses his fault concerning impure action within 3 days, he shall leave the Bangla. Marwan. December 6, 1922, the final hint. The all engrossing problem of the day was this unknown black sheep in the fold. Everybody was seen to be trying his best in finding out the culprit. Directly or indirectly, everyone in the bungalow suspected someone. Faces were carefully marked, and unusual movements were minutely observed, but all to no avail. The question was a perfect enigma. Save for Baba's repeated notices, most of us were ready to put off the possibility of such an action being ever committed in the precincts of the manzil. But there were the repeated hints on the board. The latest was the following: only one day has remained in which to confess the fault concerning impure action. Otherwise, I leave the Bangla. Marwan. Just as the day began advancing, the excitement grew stronger and stronger. The climax was reached in the evening. The third day was nearing completion, and yet there was no sign of the culprit coming forward.
Thank you,
Culprit,
VJ.
yeah, thank you.
Thanks, VJ.
Yeah, welcome.
Rolf, could you unmute and continue, please? Rolf, you're unmuted, but we don't hear you. Thanks, Rolf. We'll go on to Ernie then. Ernie, could you unmute and continue?
Culprit unmasked. It was almost taken for granted that the whole affair was made up with some different object in view by Baba, when suddenly he confronted Mahbub with the guilt to the utter amazement of all. At first, Mahbub denied all knowledge, but Baba gave him clear details about the particular part of the premises where the action was committed, the circumstances under which it happened, and even the third party outside the Mandalay concerned in the affair. It was as if Baba himself had a look at the incident, although when Mahbub made a clean breast of it, he admitted to have committed the action when Baba and the Mandalay were not in or near the premises. The miraculous discovery. There is no question of a coincidence in Baba's discovery, but in spite of having knowledge of the affair, the preceding narrative shows he still tried to know or bring out the affair through a natural course. Of course, Mahbub was all over tears and in the most repentant mood, and Baba too forgave him after giving him strict warning. But he was not allowed to remain with the Mandalay and was sent over to Charney Road immediately, where Munshi was asked to give him a job. December 11th, 1922. A terrible accident. The flour mill, as has already been mentioned, was far from being a comfortable job. Minor repairs and sudden stoppages of the rotten machinery was the daily feature of the rotten business. But this evening, the blessed affair reached quite a climax. On the plea of irregular attendance of the mill hands, I have been promoted as one from the work of cash collecting. Thus, when I was working one of the flour mills at about 4:30, there was a deafening and crashing noise. The next moment, there was all chaos. Everyone was running here and there with scared faces and bated breaths. With trembling limbs and a throbbing heart, I, too, cautiously advanced towards the engine room. The piston, which had been wrenched out of the cylinder through the apparent breakage of the big end braces, was lying a few feet away from the 20 HP Crossley engine. Hardly had we come to our normal senses and found that there was no serious injury to life when a policeman came in to inquire. Slamson, though having got a slight injury through a flying piston ring, had the presence of mind to ward off the policeman, saying that there was no accident and it was a mere experiment with a new part recently fitted in the engine. When the guardian of the law had departed, we made full investigations, but through some strange coincidence, found that in spite of so serious an accident, no considerable damage was done to life or property, save the engine itself. Another mishap. When we came to the manzil in the evening, we came to know that Shahid Sahib's wife passed away the same evening at about 6 p.m. Besides these two incidents, an article was published in the local newspaper against Maharaj and his followers. It was read before the Mandalay today when it caused quite a flutter. Taking in all these three happenings the same day prominently reminds me of Baba's passing remark in the morning that he was not feeling well today and had passed three motions like those of Ajmer's illness. The serious calamities predicted to fall in the families of the Mandalay seem to have taken a start from Charney Road, and poor Shahid Sahab gets the first stroke in losing his better half. December 16th, 1922. Message in a Dream. Novel, who is of late at home lying on bed, having just passed through a serious illness, dreamt a peculiar dream as follows. He saw Sai Baba at his place addressing the following words to him. Whatever difficulties you are undergoing are given to you intentionally by Mayor Baba. You and others do not know who Mayor Baba is because of his young age. He can even be called Avatar, and there is nothing wrong in it. Don't leave him. From your Mandalay, all will run away. Only 14 will remain. But myself and Maharaj will try to keep you to the last in the Mandalay. It is all the more strange since Naval never met Sai Baba in life. Some changes were made today in the partnership of room occupants, and consequently, a sort of shuffling took place in the bungalow. December 22nd, 1922. Baba keeps aloof. On the plea that the Mandalay are not quite trying their best in carrying out various duties entrusted to each, Baba went away upstairs at about 4 p.m. this evening with the resolve to be aloof from the company without eating or drinking anything. December 23rd, 1922. Following his retirement, the following notices appeared under Baba's signature on the board today. 1. If the sale of the allotted books and lottery tickets is not completed by the notified date, that is the 31st of December, 1922, Manzil Meme will be out of bounds for those who fail. Signed, Marwan. 2. Because I am keeping aloof, it does not mean that minor orders are not to be followed. The more you all are careless in regarding my instructions to be seriously accepted and acted according to, the more I'll stick to my privacy. But if you all desire to see me playing, eating, chatting, and working in your company, please be following the orders sincerely. Signed, Marijuana, December 24th, 1922. The last confirmation. Baba requisitioned about 14 members upstairs today at 11 a.m. when I was also specially called away from the mill. He began to explain that his retirement upstairs was due to special spiritual circumstances. Sri Maharaja's self-imprisonment in a cage at Sakari was also referred to by Baba. When he said that Maharaj was undergoing voluntary suffering for the sake of the circle only, his lengthy discourse centered around two prominent facts. That for one, the spiritual or real working had begun. And secondly, that more should leave him. All those present once again gave solemn promise to Baba to stick to him through thick and thin, under any circumstances, till the stipulated time. After the interview, Doctor and Cock were sent to Charney Road to explain and convey the sum and substance of today's meeting to Munshi and Shahib Sahib.
Thank you,
December
Ernie. Thank you. Uh, if either of you people off video want to read, please unmute yourself and continue. Or let's rephrase that. If you want to read, start your video so I can see that you're available. Thank you. I'll take a turn now. December 27, 1922. Baba's fasting begins. Baba sent for all to come upstairs. This is the fifth day that he is keeping aloof, without food and drink in the upper room. When all had assembled, Baba broached the subject of dispensing away with the minor orders and invited the opinions of all in the matter. Heated discussions followed. In the end, some 28 orders were agreed to remain in force, and the remaining ones canceled. For so long, the orders had been issued verbally, but now that the matter is decided once and for all, Baba asked these 28 orders and the principal 7 orders to be typed on a sheet of paper and a copy be given to each member. When the matter was settled to the satisfaction of all concerned, Baba declared that he would come down in the evening and take food. But from today, he added, he will be taking food once in every 24 hours, and thus will be observing a continuous fasting until further notice. Baba then told Doctor that since all were in the bungalow, it would be well if the ghazal singer that the bookbinder wanted to send down here can be brought this evening. Doctor in a fix. Accordingly, Doctor went and arranged with the bookbinder for the ghazal singer to come this evening. But through mistake, Doctor invited the bookbinder also to come with the singers. Although Baba had expressly instructed that the ghazal singer and his assistants alone should come and none else. When Doctor informed Baba of his having invited the bookbinder also through mistake, Baba expressed displeasure and insisted upon Doctor to turn him back when he comes. The following hour or two were found to be a very awkward time for Doctor. He was looking very uneasy at the prospect of turning away the man he himself had invited to come, and especially when the same man had arranged the day's program for Baba's entertainment. Strange coincidence. However, to the great relief of Doctor, when the singing party arrived, Mr. Mirza, the bookbinder, was not amongst them. On inquiries, his servant explained that Mirza Sahib could not come as he was suddenly taken with fever. A nightmare. Similarly, I too passed through a very tight corner. After returning from the mill in the bungalow, I suddenly found out that I had lost the day's cash. For some time, I fumbled here and there, but to no avail. When I was convinced of the loss, I was shocked beyond description. Cold beads of perspiration sprang out on my forehead, and I felt dizzy. The atmosphere became dim and blurred. The question of the actual loss of money was very trivial, but the point felt by me at the time was of my failure in duty. Baba's magnanimity. Since some slight mistakes, even to the extent of casual negligences, are very severely taken to task by Baba, the penalty for the present failure was quite beyond my imagination. Hence, it was with great hesitation and with distracted features that I approached Baba and falteringly explained the situation. To my utter amazement, he smiled at me and asked me to dismiss the incident completely from the mind without in any way being anxious about it, and come and hear the singing with a free heart. The ghazal singer Bakri Idi then entertained the mandali with choice ghazals up to 9:30 p.m., after which he was given 25 rupees. Chapter 6, The 28 Rules, the Gutta or Gutta. December 28, 1922. The 28 Rules. The following notice was found on the board this morning. The Parsis and Iranis are allowed to read their Avesta, the Muhammadans, Al Quran, and instructions for prayers, the Hindus, their Gita. Maharaja's life can be read if desired. All orders previous to this are hereby canceled. Signed, Merwan. Shortly afterwards, all were called upstairs. When the typewritten copies of the 28 and 7 orders were distributed to all, which run as follows. The 7 special orders, as already written herein, when they came in force on the 7th June. Rules to be observed, in addition to the 7 principal orders. 1. Baths to be taken daily. Extra baths are allowed after haircuts. 2. 1 hour between 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. is reserved every morning for cricket or any such game. Members attending duties are exempted. 3. Rooms to be cleaned once in a day by the occupants. 4. Dining hall, top hall, and back compound are not to be treaded on with shoes. As far as possible, shoes or sandals may be avoided in the bungalow. 5. Entering the bungalow latrines is strictly prohibited unless the wooden sandals supplied for the purpose are put on. 6. No one should enter anyone's room without the permission of at least one of the occupants. 7. Ringing of the bell means the prompt attendance of members in the dining hall, except the 5 o'clock bell in the morning, which indicates the starting of morning prayers. 8. The respective food or clothing should not be given or exchanged by members amongst themselves. 9. Eating less than full satisfaction is strictly prohibited. Report should be made in case of inability of eating, even in spite of hunger, and in case of no appetite after accepting the food. 10. Any unfavorable change in the health should at once be reported. 11. Books, magazines, newspapers, and others' letters must not be read. 12. While out on duty, more than 2 annas should not be spent on drinks, and money should not be kept in possession while off duty. 13. Beating anyone under any circumstances is strictly prohibited, even in cases of self-defense. Wrestling and boxing are prohibited. 14. Lies, abusive language, and ill feeling towards one to the point of breaking my order are not allowed. 15. Visits to relations are not allowed unless permitted. 16. Letters are not to be posted unless previously sanctioned. Mahu, could you unmute and continue, please?
Yes. From which number, please?
I just read number 16.
Okay. Permission is to be taken before going out. 18. In order to avoid impure actions, even a touch to anyone while the mind is occupied with passionate thoughts is strictly prohibited. Vulgar stories or passion-exciting topics must be avoided. Number 19. Touching any young women except one's own mother or sister should be avoided. Number 20. Eating food not cooked in the manzil or any eatable from outside must not be eaten unless otherwise ordered. 21. Any action indicating lust or passion should at once be reported. Number 22. Shaving and haircutting are allowed on Thursdays and Sundays before 12 a.m. 23. No report should be made for any breach of orders except in cases where asked to do so. 24. None should enter the office of the manager, which is Rostam K. Irani of the Circle and Company, except with the manager's permission and his writing table should not be touched during his absence in his office. Adi is appointed as vice manager. Number 25, ears should be kept covered before going to bed, either by putting in cotton or tying a piece of cloth. Number 26, everyone must sit down while drinking, and plates should be removed after every meal by the members themselves. Number 27, bathrooms should not be used as urinals. Number 28, falling at the feet of Meher Baba is strictly prohibited. Now, spiritual orders. Getting up at 4 a.m. and attending morning prayers from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. Attending the places of worship every day according to respective religions, or carrying out other individual spiritual orders. Now, date is December 29, 1922. The title is Stringency. The notice board was graced with the following today. As terrible scarcity of funds in facing the circle, please do not undergo unnecessary outdoor expenses and each do the bookselling duty with all vigor, with full vigor. Signed by Merwa. Baba is continuing his fast begun on the 27th and consequently takes food only once in the 24 hours. Yet, for all that, he is as active as ever. Next is, the title is A Passing Gale. In the morning, while Baba was serving food to us, as he has been doing since he himself is observing the fast, Doctor told him that he had no inclination to eat, although he felt a bit hungry, and the signal for a great storm was given. Baba began taking round Doctor for breaking one of the 28 rules, while he maintained he had not done so as per his own understanding. In the verbal warfare that continued for some time, Baba threw at Ramjoo the plates that the latter had in his hands, and so a tense atmosphere was created. However, after some time, the storm passed away and normal atmosphere prevailed. But Doctor was marked to be greatly depressed and dejected throughout the day. On December 31st, 1922, the title is Strange Dreams. Doctor, who was very disheartened throughout the day yesterday, and even according to his own words, cried and shed tears many times, saw a comforting dream last night, which is reproduced here from the dream registry. In quote, Doctor says, I was sitting near Baba Jan at Charbaudi, Pune. At first, Baba Jan looked at me frowningly, then drawing me near, sat back to back with me and began rocking to and fro. Then, reclining in my arms, began playing with me in the most lovable manner. In this latter action, I had a novel experience. One moment I used to feel Baba John fondly, fond, uh, fondling, fondling and playing in my arms, and the very next moment, Meher Baba instead. And this continued for some time, after which I woke up. As, as, as if this were not quite sufficient, when sleeping for 2 hours in the afternoon, Dr. saw two more dreams, which, to use his own words, took away all the uneasiness of his mind. When Baba came to know of the latter dreams, he asked Doctor to get them typewritten to be put up on the board for the information of all. They are as narrated by Doctor himself as follows. I saw Shri Narayan Maharaj walking the streets, they sometime forgot, with the throng of people following. Some of our Mandali people were also there. When my turn came to approach him, I salamed him in the most respectful manner. He asked me very many questions about my life. The latest information I gave him as regards myself was that I was having discarded the world. I was having discarded the world in the service of Meher Baba. Narayan Maharaj then took my hand in his, and after a time, looking at the palm of my hand, said, your age is 25 years. What else, he said. What else he said, I have forgot. Here the scene changes. I found myself standing on the road in front of my house at Lonavala. There were many people besides, some standing and other loitering here and there. I see Asar talking loudly and cracking jokes about women in the obscene manner. Finding me turning a deaf ear to his obscene words, Asar remarked, why will Doctor not listen to us? He has become a saint. Shortly after this, a cry was raised by the people there. Upasni Maharaj ki jai. Turning round, I saw Maharaj coming along the road towards my house. From the groaning sound that he made, I could see that Maharaj was extremely tired. Also, since he was covered with dust from head to foot, it appeared that he must have walked a very long distance. Khak and myself were the first to approach him and kiss his hands in reverence. Although internally I lay prostrate before Maharaj with heart and soul, externally we hesitated doing so, finding the crowd there consisting mostly of Muslims. In reply to the obeisance given by the people, Maharaj prostrated himself to all and then walked straight into my house with myself in his wake. Inside the house, there was no one except the female members, who all kissed Maharaj's hands in respect. Maharaj then sat down on the bare ground, and when we expressed our desire to spread something for him to sit on, he pointed out a particular piece of gaudy cloth lying in the corner, asked me to bring it.
Thank you, Mahu. Ernie, could you unmute and continue, please?
Spreading the same with his own hands, he sat down on it. Then, addressing the female members, Maharaj said, I have come down to speak something to these people, meaning thereby the whole Mandali, although I was the only one present from the Mandali. They don't understand things and misinterpret them. They are trying to find nook and corners to escape the severity of the orders instead of facing them boldly. Then addressing me direct, he said, are you a child not to understand these things? Do you eat hen's shit? Be particular about taking bath. And the dreams ended abruptly here when Doctor woke up on hearing his roommate Cox called to get up. To use Doctor's words, considering the dreams in the light of his disturbed mental equilibrium during the last 24 hours, they are most impressive, instructive, and opportune. Be that it as it may, Doctor once again became his old self again in the Mandali, and the atmosphere became completely normal. January 3rd, 1923, the Gutta. When all were present upstairs today in the evening, Baba broached the subject of setting aside an hour or two daily for all the members to get together in the evening to discuss and decide various questions of the domestic as well as recreational life in the manzil. All favored the idea, and some rough preliminary rules were formed for the conduct of business therein. First of all, after much discussion, the meeting was decided to be called Agutta Tavern. Agutta, that is, tavern. Everyone from the Mandali was decided as having the right to attend, take part, and give votes equally in the proceedings of the Gutta. Doctor was selected as the secretary to note down and keep records of the proceedings.
Ernie, could you project your voice a little more? I'm having hard time getting it, hearing you. Sorry.
Turn my volume up. Is that better?
We can hear. I can hear you. Ralph, maybe you need to turn up your monitor volume. Go ahead, Ernie. 2 more minutes.
No, well, I'm at full volume. I don't know. I hear you very well when you read, but I had trouble with both Ernie and Mahu. Sorry.
Oh, well, fortunately, it's on the screen as well. So please continue, Ernie.
Secretary to note down and keep records of the proceedings, while Baba himself was declared to be the chairman. Everyone was asked to take keen interest in the proceedings and give one's own opinion freely without being led by others' words, leanings, and considerations. All were to speak one after the other, and with the permission of the chair to avoid the technical Gutta becoming one to the real sense of it. That is, a place of chaotic humdrum. To solicit permission to want to speak, one should lift his hand upwards without making any sound, and to begin speaking only when the chair grants the permission. Thus, the time was passed very interestingly today in witnessing the institution of local self-government being inaugurated in the autocratic atmosphere of the Monsel. January 13th, 1923, the duty of duties. The one important chain of events in the Monsel taking place for the last 10 days is about the book selling, where Gifdar, Rustem, Kak, and Doctor are the principal parties engaged in this difficult duty, especially the first two. Every day, almost a new party is approached from the prominent and leading citizens of Bombay to solicit sympathy and help in effecting a quick and complete sale of all the copies of Sarai Maharaj's life. The queer situation may well be imagined from the extraordinary jumble of contradictory circumstances. The life of a Brahmin master with a Muslim guru and a Parsi disciple, written in the Urdu language, and yet trying to be sold off to persons for whom Urdu might be Greek by salesmen belonging to different castes, professing to lead a spiritual life, and yet apparently keen to collect money through the sale of the books, facts which would eclipse the strangest fiction. And yet this complex duty had to be carried out in the face of great opposition, carried on by some through rumors and writings in the press, trying to paint the affair in the worst colors. While we were playing a game this morning, Baba came and related a dream, which he said he saw overnight.
Thanks, Ernie. We'll stop here since it's 11:30.